Hello. Hi, everybody or nobody. I am in the studio right now. I literally woke up about 15 minutes ago. I tried doing this last night, but it took me forever to set up the camera and everything because I was just trying to do too much and I thought that I was going to have to use all this special camera setup and everything for this, and I couldn't get it to work because I just don't have the compatibility or the equipment. I don't know. It just didn't work. So here we are using just the web camera. I hope that everything is looking good and clear and I'm not looking choppy like the fucking old Crash Bandicoot game or something. So here we are. I'm in the studio. I'm going to try to work on this little piece. I do have to go to work in a bit, so I won't be streaming for too long. You're not going to see this painted to completion, but I don't know. I just keep hearing feedback from friends and randos that I should try live streaming while painting, because apparently that's really interesting to people, I guess. Um, I don't think it's particularly that interesting, at least from the outside in. I mean, I like painting. So, but it's something very different, I'm sure, for someone else that is not already in the act. So, I'm just going to try doing this. And I'm going to try to keep it interesting for the next maybe 45 minutes to an hour. I don't know if I can be that interesting consistently. It's easy to just record a video and post it because I can chop and screw that shit to make myself seem interesting and funny. that's the trick to that. You just pre-record it and then edit it in video software. But this is live, and so I'm feeling really on the spot, and I'm a little bit nervous, which is why I'm just grabbing brushes for no reason and just to look busy, like I'm doing something. This really means nothing right now. I don't need brushes. There isn't even paint in my palette. So just ignore all that. But yeah, I don't have paint on my palette because I wanted to do that on camera for you. I get a lot of questions about my palette and about how I paint and color mixing and all that. I mean, maybe that'll be a, I don't know, quote unquote lesson. I'm using that word loosely because I am certainly not a teacher. And a lot of times what ends up happening is just a bunch of luck. So, I mean, well, not to downplay my own abilities. I mean, obviously I do know what I'm doing to some degree, but I think when I think of teaching or lessons or whatever, I think that should come from people who are comfortably experts. And I am not that. So, but if you just want to see me talk about colors and shit, then sure, I'll do that. You can let me know if that's something that you'd be interested in. I mean, I'll talk about that if you want. So anyway, yes, I'm going to set up my palette in front of you on camera so you can just know what that's about. So right now okay, here it is. I was looking for the white. So I tend to set up my palettes about the same. Maybe one or two colors don't get used sometimes. It just depends. I sometimes I know where a painting's gonna go color-wise ahead of time, or I try to have an idea. I mean, most of the colors that I do use are pretty highly saturated anyway, so as far as a signature palette or a signature color palette. I can't say that's something that I have. Is rainbow a signature color palette? I know a lot of times I don't know, I've been wondering if I should kind of narrow that down and and have paintings that pretty much have the same color palette. I mean, I'm wondering if that's a part of style. I mean, and I'm saying that because I see other artists do that. There are some artists who are distinct because they do use a specific color scheme or color palette throughout their career or work, or I don't know, or particular series. And it's not something I'm really interested in doing, but I just keep wondering if that's something that I should try to do because a lot of other people are doing that, or maybe it's easier to market that way. I don't know. I'm just rambling and thinking out loud, and I mean, I probably won't change what I'm doing because I'm lazy, but I don't know. I think I'm at a point where I'm open to trying a bunch of different things. So it's just in my mind. It's just in my mind. I like to think that my wide range of color and my confidence. Do I want to say confidence? Am I confident in color? In using color? Let's just say that for the sake of this solo conversation. Yeah, I like to think that my confidence in just going for a whole bunch of different colors is a part of my style. Maybe that is something that makes me distinct, I would hope. I don't know. I guess you can market almost anything. Maybe that's all it is. I just need to find that string of words to make myself seem distinct and interesting as an artist in that way. Anyway, this color palette, all I've done is set out white. White. I always use white. So that always goes first. It's always the biggest pile that I put down because I know I'm just going to use it a lot. It's always the biggest tube that I have as well. Just use it for pretty much everything, tinting and highlights. And I mean, I can't think of any other way to make a color quote unquote lighter than to use white. Maybe a yellow, but yellow, I mean, it'll muddy up your shit depending on what your base color is. Yellow also makes things a lot warmer. I mean, depending on if you're using a warmer yellow shade. So let's see. All right. What I'm doing in my mind as I'm talking and trying to come up with something else to say. The way that I set my palette up is usually I'll have a row with the lighter colors and a row with all the darker colors. There isn't really a real reason for that other than to just stay organized. I learned it in a class once and it seemed to make a whole bunch of sense to me, so I just started doing it. And I do have a video on my channel where I do go into the basics of my color palette or just using palettes in general. You know, I forgot what that video is really about, but it was super long and I don't even really think it was that interesting. But I think it was in the beginning of when I started vlogging on here and I was just trying to figure out stuff to do. I wasn't sure if this was just going to be a space where I gave a bunch of art tips or if I was just going to talk about the shit that I was working on or whatever. And so that palette video was born. And yeah, I don't even remember. I'm not saying it so you can watch it. Please, you can watch it if you want. I'm just, but I'm warning you, it's probably really not that interesting. But it's there, and I'm not going to take it down. So, yeah, there's that. But I mentioned on there the way that I set up my palette. And that's a little bit more in depth if you want to check that out. So what I just laid down was yellow. I have two different yellows. This is a cadmium yellow medium. Look how much that's getting used up. Use it a lot. I'm actually a little upset that I have to replace this soon because cadmiums, they are expensive as fuck. And I don't really want to invest in a new tube of this. So okay, I'll talk about briefly the brand of paints that I use. Right here is Gamblin. I've been using I've been using these a lot recently, mostly because they're on the more affordable end of the spectrum as far as oil paint brands. I used to be a Winsor and Newton whore, but that was probably because we used that a lot in school. And I mean, I really, really like those paints a lot still, actually, but they are just a bit too expensive for me. And well, also, it doesn't matter really how expensive your materials are. You just have to find what works. I will say that if you do skew on the higher end of things, that you will see a difference in quality, but ultimately it is all in how you use the material. So yeah, case in point, I was watching a video by an artist named Jim McKenzie. He is a sculptor. I think he paints too, but he does a lot of sculpture and toy making. I want to say, I hope that's the proper term to use for what he does. But I was watching a video he did recently where he was asking a bunch of questions, and I think someone asked him what paint he used, and he pulled out this cheap ass acrylic paint, basics acrylic paint, which if you are a painter, you know you can just find that's probably maybe the cheapest or if not one of the cheapest acrylic paints that you can buy. And he makes this beautiful, incredible, colorful sculptures. I mean, I never would have guessed that he was why did I call basics paint? Why did I call them out like that? Because they are. You go to Michael's, and I'm only saying it because I recently went to Michael's and used them shits, and they were on sale. And you get these big fat tubes for maybe $5, and it's a lot of acrylic paint. But see what some of these cheaper brands do is it is cheap because it's filled of mostly fillers. So yeah, there's pigment in it, but they add in a fuck ton of shit to basically stretch that out. So it looks like you're getting a bunch of value for the quality. And I don't know, you may or may not be, but I mean, I'm not gonna lie, because this nigga say, hey, I use basics for my paints. It's the cheap, and I use it because it's cheap. Once I heard that dude say that, I was like, oh, all right. So when I did my signal box painting, guess what I used? A fuck ton of basics acrylic paint that I got on sale at Michael's. And the shit turned out fine. So it's not you don't have to use really expensive stuff. It really is all in how you use it. So yeah, that man, he dropped that knowledge that day, and I was like, oh, okay, so I don't have to feel bad about using more affordable / cheap oil paint. But shit, even some of the cheap oil paint will get expensive when it comes to cadmiums. Yo, the magician was telling his secrets. He didn't give a fuck that day. He was answering all them questions, and he straight up was like, "Look, I use basic, y'all, and I use them because they're cheap." And that's it. He didn't say, "Oh yeah, no, it's the viscosity and the color, and they always have this in stock, or they're just so great." No, he was just like, "I just use them because they're cheap and they get the job done." And he's this pretty well known toy maker, artist guy, and yeah, and I was just like, well, okay then, yeah, all right, sir. So yeah, I've been kind of carrying that with me. So I use gambling. I used to use Winsor & Newton. Every now and then I may pick up a certain tube of Winsor & Newton, but I just tend to get whatever's cheap and whatever is going to work in my painting. Pretty much, just whoever has the colors available, do what I need to do on the surface. I've also kind of been playing around with this brand, which is Ingram & Co. I was introduced to this brand through a painting class I took a couple of years ago, where he was requesting this specific brand for, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 specific colors. And I think it was because he said that those particular colors in this certain brand made a really good black. I think that's what that was. And I honestly can't remember what those colors are now. I think it was an olive green, a reddish color, and a blue, which I don't remember what blue it was. It might have been manganese blue or cobalt blue. I don't know. I don't fucking know. But anyway, I was introduced to Ingram brand paints, and I like these. These are also a little bit on kind of the more affordable ends. They have a lot of different shades and price points. And I found this orange color, or it's called Azo Coral. And I got it from, I think it was a promotional sale. It was like, buy this big ass tube of white and you get a free orange. And this was it. And I ended up really taking to it. So I use this now in my, with my colors. I'm trying to figure out what else I need. I'm still grabbing things. I only set down 3 colors. See, I'm talking. I really didn't think I was going to have enough to talk about. But here we are. I haven't even painted yet. I may not even get to painting. That'll have to be a part 2. It's gonna be a series where it's gonna take me 5 live streams to finish this little ass 6x6 6x6 block panel. It's wood. Anyway, see, Nikki is in the chat right now. Nikki has done improv, and I feel like I would be way better at this if I had taken an improv class or 2. I keep thinking yes, and, but there's no one to say yes to other than myself. I think these things, these live streams, is an exercise in talking to yourself. Just how can you, what do you do? What do you say? How do you keep this going? How do you fill in that dead air? I really feel like my mind is scrambling to just not be silent. And I am not always used to that in the studio, because all I want to do is be silent and work and listen to music. Actually, speaking of music, let's get that going. Let's have that in the background, because that is actually something that I do in the studio. I play music or podcasts while I work. Oops, okay. Oh, you can still see me and hear me while I did that. But, thanks, Nikki. What are my expectations for this? See, thank you, Nikki, for asking me questions. That's what keeps us going. I don't have to think as much. My expectations for this is not much, actually, because I'm still in kind of practice mode with painting. I'm still kind of in there. I'm re-entering the painting process and the art world after this hiatus. So I've been drawn to doing these little don't mean anything paintings just for practice, just to get back on the groove and to just see how I feel, just make sure I still like painting because the break was so long and was so emotionally taxing that I'm not all the way sure how I feel about painting right now. It's like, oh, it feels good, but do I still want to do this as a career? You know what I'm saying? Or do I just want to make whatever the fuck, sell it, yay or no, just whatever. Is this going to be a hobby? And I hate to even refer to it as that. I don't want this to be a hobby, but at the same time, I don't know. I've been in a big funk about painting. So I am this painting, I don't really have any expectations. It's really just to finish it. It's just to push some color around on the surface, be loose about it, don't have any emotional attachments or assignments to it. I mean, this is just practice. And so I've been in this mode of I'm going to try out some monochromatic painting just to get into the swing of things and to challenge myself because, as I mentioned earlier, I just like to just use a whole ton of colors everywhere. I want to try to see if I can restrain that a little bit. I don't know if it's something I'm going to continue with moving forward, but I like the idea of having an objective and just seeing what happens. It's like giving myself a classroom assignment, perhaps. So yeah, I don't think I did enough monochromatic paintings. Yeah, and I don't think I've done enough monochromatic paintings when I was in school or in life. So here we are. I'm going to just do this. And it might be a series. It might end up being a series of monochromatic things. So I chose cherries because I think fruit is an easy way to do monochromatic paintings. So yeah, I actually was going to do these kind of a reddish color, but then I decided to do black cherry, so it's going to be a lot darker. So, which I don't tend to do. Yeah, I don't tend to do a whole lot of dark painting or darker colors. So this will be interesting. This will be fun. So yeah, I'm going to keep going and keep filling up the palette. I was talking about colors. I was talking to myself. Okay, let's get back on track. So, okay, just laid down some yellows. I'm going to put on this orange. When I do set up the colors, I try to do it in, I don't know, chromatically. I hope that's accurate for the way I set this up. So I'll try to, basically how the rainbow is set up, how it goes from yellows to oranges to reds, and then to wherever it goes from reds on down. So yeah, so going from yellow to orange, looking for my red. So we have okay, cadmium red medium. This is a staple in my color palette. I also use kind of a rose color, and that tends to change sometimes. Right now, there's the quinacridone red, which is like a really deep, cool, pinkish color. But Sometimes I'll use just a permanent rose. I think I just got this again because it was cheap. And I've used this color before. I get similar results as if using a permanent rose. So, yeah. Laying down my reds now. This playlist that's on, it's just a random, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just a compilation of songs that I've heard and just liked. Okay, and so it's probably gonna, it might be a mix of things or it might have a theme. I don't know, but just so you know, it's just a random amalgamation of songs that I like. So the genres may switch here and there. So let's see. Got the yellow, I'm about to switch over to blues now. Let's change over to blues. And not that one. So the blue that I use for my light colors, that also tends to swap out sometimes. I don't really know why I do that, actually. Just some days I feel like a cobalt, some days I feel like a cerulean, some days I feel like this manganese blue. I don't know that I've been able to tell the difference too much. It's just more of what blue is cheap that I bought that day, and as long as it's on the lighter side, I'm just going to toss it in. So I think today, since these are going to be darker cherries, I'm going to leave out cerulean. I'm going to try this manganese blue. See how that goes. I don't know if you can see it, but look at that. That's real pretty. And I like the consistency of these Emgram paints. I mean, they're just real creamy, thick, which I guess most oil paint is. But they have I don't know, it's different from what I've used in the past. I really like it. Where am I going next? I'm going to use this purple, this Radiant Violet by Emgram, or Gamblin, sorry. Radiant Violet by Gamblin. This is, well, I guess it's not new anymore, but I added this color to my palette maybe last summer, or summer, a year and a half ago. I'm really liking that, actually. It's way less harsh than a dioxazine purple, and I don't have to fight with it so much. I still use dioxazine purple because I have to. It's to me at least, it's a common color to use or to have in a palette. But I'm going to use that on my darker shades. And what else? Oh my god, green. I'm going to use this green. I also really like this green. It's a permanent green light by Gamblin. This one's almost out. As you can tell, I use this green a lot. I think it's just a very good standard green. It's a bit on the yellowish side. Yeah, that's fine. You can always cool colors up. I think once you are comfortable with color mixing and the way that certain paints work and certain colors work together, you will just automatically know or feel comfortable with using whatever colors you need to make a color you have to. And yeah, so as I mentioned that this color was yellowish. I can easily cool it down with a blue or even a grayish tone or something like that. Yeah, just use what I need to get the color that I want. And okay, now we'll do the darker shades. So I've been kind of toying around with a few different blacks. I'm trying to find the one. So typically in a color palette, you may use an ivory black, pretty standard black, and it's fine. But I decided that I wanted to try a few different blacks. I think I don't know. Maybe I was just thinking that ivory black was too harsh. I needed something that was easier to mix and didn't dull colors too quickly. So I have a Mars black, which I don't think I've even tried yet. I don't even think I've tried using this yet. So I'm not absolutely sure in what the mixing capabilities are yet. Let's throw it on here though. Let's try it. Maybe it might look interesting once I start mixing it. Since these are going to be darker cherries, it might work out. But what I have been really enjoying, it's technically not black. It's this Payne's Gray. I don't know what took me so long to get on the Payne's Gray train, but I use it a lot now, and I love the shades that you can get with it, and we're just using a little bit of it. It's kind of just like a really cool tone, darker color. I mean, I don't want to call it black because I guess technically it's not. It's just a really dark gray. That's on the cool side, but it can be used as a black. I just think it's friendlier to people who use color like I do, basically. It's not too harsh at all. So, okay, let me see, what else? Okay, so I have blacks down. I'm gonna add this packaging purple. I'm running out of it. I'm gonna have to re-up on this bitch right here. And I don't know. Actually, I wish I had a dark green these. I don't really have one, and I haven't gotten more. I usually use like a phthalo green, but I think I'm open to trying some different ones out with that too. Something that's a little easier to mix, a little friendlier green, dark green color to mix. Okay, it's just tossing colors everywhere. I also been liking this gray, this Portland Gray Medium by Gamblin'. Been using it a lot. The only thing I don't like about it is that it tends to dry up so quick. So I just don't put as much down, so I'm not wasting the color, but I do kind of hate that it dries up before I can fully utilize it. It's, a lot of my painting sessions are kind of chopped up, and so I maybe only have time to spend just an hour on it here and there, and so I have to leave it for hours at a time because of work or just whatever else I have to do living my life. So oil paints work best for me in that sense as well, because I take a little while to dry. But it's great, man. It's Portland Gray Medium. It ain't no joke. It wants to get the fuck up out of here. So I'm trying to find my alizarin. Another favorite, Alizarin Crimson. I think it's also just one of those colors that just stands the test of time and is almost always included in class lists and other painters' palettes. It's just a really good deep red, and it's really good too for skin tones and things like that when you're working with figure painting. I also use it for my bright ass paintings. So we're almost done, actually. Or are we done? Oh no, it's blue. Ultramarine blue, another staple. Just colors that I learned or used when I first started learning how to paint in school. And then they just never left me. They just never cycle out of the palette. I think Ivory Black might have been the first one that started started cycling out to try other blacks. So a lot of these other colors are just colors that I used because that's how I learned. And they never left me. Always find a use for them. Okay. So the palette is set up now. And I'll just add to it as I go or as I need it. And all right. Okay. I'm also looking for my medium. Cool. I think this is it. So it looks like it might be drying out a little bit. I don't know how because the cap is on. But so what I've been using lately is liquid. This is a liquid gel, so it's not as liquidy. It's not as watery as a standard liquid. And this helps paintings dry a bit faster, and it's let's see. Let me try to dig this out. It's a little bit hard at the top. So actually, so this was a bit of an experiment because I had never heard of liquid gel, and so I thought, oh, that would be great. So I don't have just medium dripping everywhere, and it doesn't change the texture of my paints too much. Let's get this gel. But I'm seeing that it dries and crusts up pretty easily and regularly, and I don't like that. I don't like that. So I probably won't buy this again. I guess this would be fine for people who paint at a high volume, I guess, who just paint all the time. And look at that. Can you see this? What is this? This looks like when sap dries, like amber. What is that? I've been putting this in my paint, y'all. So I don't know. I might just use it till it's done. But I don't think I'm gonna be buying this again. I don't like that I have to dig it out like that each time. So yeah, sometimes I'll have a little pot to put my mediums in, but for now, I'm just gonna lay it right on my palette. It's fine. And I just lay it out of the way. And I'm doing that because I don't feel like cleaning out a pot. It's the only reason I'm just putting it on the palette. Because I don't feel like having to wipe it up later. Okay, so I will do that. And as far as how I mix my paints or what I use to mix paints, in the beginning or when I know that I need a large amount of a color, I will use a palette knife initially when I know, okay, I need a base color of, I don't know, this dark red or something, because I know I'm going to use a lot. So I'll just use, it's just easier to just mix up a larger batch of color with a palette knife than using a brush. I don't know. It's you'll wear down you will wear down your brushes a lot faster if you're always mixing with the brush. That being said, I do mix with my brushes a lot, especially while I'm painting. When I'm catch a groove with it, and I already know what colors I need to use to shift what's already on my brush, then yeah, I'll just mix the colors with my brush. Because I mean, you can get some really nice results when you paint with a dirty brush, especially with figure painting and if you're doing realism, blending, and all that. Yeah. Dirty brush painting is where it's at. You'll get a lot of happy accidents with that. And with the way that I paint, with it being swatches of mostly really clean color, using a dirty brush isn't always so great, or isn't always as noticeable, but sometimes you can yield some good results. So I'm gonna sorry, you can see all my shit hanging out. My pajamas. And it's 9:30 in the morning. I'm gonna have to start getting ready for work soon. So sorry I haven't gotten much painting done while talking, but I'll at least see me get down a few strokes. So I hope you can comfortably see this. Sorry I don't have a setup where it's not like an eagle's eye view of what I'm doing. You have to actually see my dumbass face while I'm painting this, and it's a little bit far away, but this is just the only setup. Let me see if I can pull it up a bit closer. But I don't think that really did much. But anyway, I'm trying to angle it in a way that is easy for me to paint and easy for you to also see. So we're just gonna work it out. All right. And all right, I'm gonna dig in. So you almost always I start with the background. Almost always, it just looks better to me, at least. Paint the background first, get that out the way, and then you paint your object after that, because then it looks like it's sitting on top of the background. And I mean, then you can soften up edges from there if you want, but I just almost always just lay the background down first, so I can at least see what I'm working with. And it's just not something that I want to add last. It looks really awkward to me that way. And you can almost always tell when you go back in and try to paint background after you've painted the shit in the foreground. Almost always tell, at least for me. Maybe I need to be a better painter so it doesn't look as obvious. But just to me, it tends to look pretty awkward. So background, I don't know. I was on a roll until just now. I had to figure out, oh shit, what color am I gonna paint that? All right, so it's probably okay. Let's do like a dark bluish color, because that's going to really interrupt this orange pattern in the background. This is not paint. This is paper. This is origami paper. Cheat code. All right, let's get in there. So the way that I tend to mix color is light color first, and then add in the dark color. It's just you save a bit more paint when you do it that way, because it's easier to adjust your color and make it darker than it is to try to make it lighter. That is lighter blue. And then what? I'm gonna try this Cave Gray because I love it so much. And I'm sure I've mixed these two colors before, and I just love the results. So yeah, right now we're getting a pretty gray blue. And I think I want to make it a little more red. So it's going to turn purple, but it's fine. It's still going to be considered to be in the blue family. Okay, that's looking pretty dark, but I want to see some of that here. So we'll add this. No insurance, no license either. Boys right there, nice to see you. Can't buzz this is a really gray blue. I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna see what it looks like, and if I don't like it, I mean, I can either wipe it out or just paint lighter on top of it, which does kind of give it some dimension. You lay down the dark color first, and then come in with the lighter colors. So I think that's what's going to end up happening. I feel mostly okay about this color, but I know that I can zhuzh it up as I go along. So let's see, I'm trying to find it. Let's see. I don't know. I want to go a little bit bigger than that. Let's try this. All right. So, this is actually one of my new brushes. Let's get in there. So, getting a little bit of this medium on my brush and digging in to this. So, I'm going to try to get in between here a bit. Oh, okay. I actually kind of like that. I definitely think I'm going to add some lighter shades on top of this. So this is kind of coming out really just a bit transparent, which is all right. I can build that up and go thicker as I go. Right now I'm just kind of seeing how this looks. And I'm not going to paint the whole background. The way that I do backgrounds, this is a little different because this pattern is really wild. But so I'm not going to really cover too much. I want to see some of that coming through. But normally the way that I do backgrounds, I just tend to keep it really simple. I don't like to typically create a scene in my work. Keep the background simple so the objects can just shine and the color can just do its thing. To me, that's what's important whenever I make a piece, is just those brush strokes and the way those colors are forming the form. And so I just like to keep the backgrounds really, really simple so the figures and whatever I'm painting can just be more the focal point. But I try to give a little bit of interest with the background, at least, since I'm not doing much with them. It's really just these things floating in space. So kind of I'm really just doing a lot of guessing right now. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just doing a lot of guessing. I'm probably going to let that trail off a little bit. Okay. So, all right, now I can still see that. All right, I can still see these stems, so don't worry. They're not lost. They're not lost. All right, we're going to keep going. So just going a little bit thicker here. Starting it a little bit looser. So one trick. So excuse me, I'm just having a little frog in my throat right now. I'm also trying to pay attention to what I already have on here with these shades. So you can kind of see where this is a shadow here and this is light. When I do the background, I try to keep that in mind too. So where I know the highlights or the lighter parts of the form are going to hit the background, I try to keep it darker there because it adds some visual interest. So highlights are hitting darker areas are going to just hit lighter parts of the background. It's a little trick that I'm sure I learned it in a class, so it's not even anything that I came up with. It's just one of those things where you hear it, it's like, oh, that makes sense. I like that. I'm going to try that. And you start to see it work in your own work, and so you just keep doing it, and then you pass it down. I think that's all that is. I'm sure I learned it. You see, that's why it pays to have a little bit of tutelage. You learn these little tricks that would maybe have taken you years to figure out on your own. So, I'm not saying you have to spend all your money going to school, but it definitely helps to go to take some sort of class if you can. Because I'm pretty sure I would have never figured that out on my own. All right, I think okay, I'm starting to get a little confident now, and I'm just laying down the color thicker in areas. I lost my dog in the cyclone. I'm not in Kansas no more. I'm with your bitch on face. I'm just wasting time. Fuck it, please, pussy nigga, get your girl out my iPhone. I'm also trying to make sure I can still see these stems. I don't want those to get long, so I'm kind of painting around that. Though it is really tough. You can barely see them. I'm trying to fight all this temptation I'm up against. She said that you be fucking like a beginner. She don't no longer want you. She won't be. And this bottom here, I'm just going to add some shadows to the cherries, but I'm going to do that a little later once I figure out the colors of the cherries. So I did get the image just online. Let's do a Google search, and I'll do the setting where it's like free for reuse or something like that, so I don't feel as bad using other people's images. I mean, I obviously don't copy them. So this is actually a composite of a few images I found, but I need to work from them because I'm not so great at recreating or drawing things from my head. So yeah, I gotta look at stuff to make sure I'm making it look the way I want it should look. So nothing wrong with using photo references. Everyone does it. Everyone does it. With some of my favorite paintings, I'll create paintings from old sketches, which is also fun too. I like that I'm able to figure out a use for a lot of those old figure sketches that I did in school or just on my own. Okay, well, I think I'm gonna go do some lighter colors in a minute. Just because I'm actually getting tired of looking at this blue. So that's how I know it's time to change focus a bit. So I'm just gonna wipe this off and do that again. And pick up this lighter blue that I have. You know what? I'm probably not going to touch this too much. I'm looking at it next to this dark blue I just used, and I'm liking the way that they look together. So I'm probably not going to mix it. Just use it straight out the tube. Which, depending on who you talk to or what type of painter a person is, using the color straight out the tube is a no-no. It's like one of those painting rules. Fuck out of here with that. I do what I want. And I use whatever color I want to use the way that I want to use it. So I will frequently use a color straight out the tube, not mix too much. And that's probably why my colors look so damn wild. Not gonna lie. But yeah, I'm just gonna just start slapping this in here. Just seeing how that looks together. Oh, I kind of like that. Let me see if you can see that. I'm gonna try to bring it up. Can you see that? Just how it looks a little bit neon. I don't know, next to that. I'm just gonna keep going with that actually. Oops. Might need to switch to a smaller brush in a second for that little part, but yeah, I'm just gonna keep going. Might even go lighter than this blue. Yeah, I think I'm gonna add a whole other level to this scheme that's going on here. I will do that in a second. As far as what these brush strokes mean, they don't mean anything. I'm just laying in color and just seeing the way the strokes look next to each other. This is not premeditated, or I'm not going by direction at all. It's just what looks interesting to me. How is this color looking next to this other color? So I need to show some variation in strokes. These are just all the micro decisions that I'm kind of making, kind of not making at the same time. It's just it's a little bit intuitive. I'm really liking it. Okay, so now that there are some color, now that there is some color and are some brush strokes getting laid down, I'm just kind of reacting to it, and it's like changing up the game plan as I go. So I'm sort of already thinking ahead about this lighter blue that I know I'm going to want to start laying in, and where that's going to go. So actually kind of like what this is doing down here. So I think I might just let that drip off and do that. Okay, so okay. I'm not wanting to really fool with this too much, so I'm going to start working in that lighter blue that I mentioned. Let's figure out what that's going to look like. All right. I'm going to, all right, let's see. I'm going to start with a little bit of white here. Just to, because I want that to have this whatever this blue color is going to look like. I'm going to want it to contrast with these blues I've already laid down. I want it to be kind of a pretty stark contrast, because that's just what I like to do. I like really, really light lights, close to these darks. Yeah, that's a painting lesson for you. Darks next to lights. Alright, so right now what I have on my brush is just this manganese blue and white. I don't know. So I tried to have some good lighting in here, but I have a shitty webcam. So there's that color, but it's looking a bit too one-dimensional. It just looks like a light blue. I mean, that's literally what it is. Two colors mixed together, which is light blue, which is fine, but that's not how I roll. So I have to add something else to it because I barely have restraint when it comes to colors. So I think I'm gonna add a little bit of this green, just a little bit, like maybe, I don't know what size it would be, like the size of a fish egg or something. I don't even know, man. But it's just a real little dot, and I'm gonna just add it in there. So now it's more of a blue-green. It's looking too green to me. So adding a little bit of blue back in. Even that tiny little dot of green was still a bit too much. But I think I like this shade. I don't know how well you can see that. But that's what we're looking at. I'm gonna dive back in. So baby, what about a lifetime love? Let me take it to a cloudy place. Let me show you what my airplane brakes. Get a little bit of bike, give a sign, it's safe. I love that you love me, getting out the hardest. Love you smooth, man, but my hugging me the hardest. Shit, that's my nature, but I never let you go. I need you, bet you know, let me discover what's under this cover. Your body's like the hardest wine, you know. And when I be sober, but I know we turns on my best mud. You naked and dressed up. Not everything's a slow motion. I mean, I know he knows shit. Now let me just say. Just enough to just have it peeking out. Fuck up these movies with tension, and if with too much emotion. She said love is a poison, so you're with caution. Okay, I think I might let that stand for now. I'm gonna let that stand. And then alright, what I'm gonna do now is start mixing up some colors for these cherries. They're gonna be black cherries, so it's gonna be a lot of shades of purple. I'm gonna guess a lot of shades of purple. But at this point, though, I am gonna have to stop because I need to start getting ready for work. But thank you for joining me for at least the beginning of this painting, while I rambled and talked about colors and all that. And yeah, I'm not sure. I'll probably be back tonight after I finish work and finish eating, going to the gym and all that, and just lay right into this. So it'll be a really late session. I don't expect anyone to be back, but that's what I'm probably going to be doing. So, all right, good deal. Thanks for joining me, my first real live stream. I will be back, and have a good day, I guess. Bye.